Modal operators of necessity are one of the categories in the generalisation part of the meta model, and this is about NLP and language. A modal operator means a mode of operating. So in a way, you could think of it like an adverb. It's something that qualifies the verb. So it refers to the manner in which the verb is being done. And modal operators are usually identified by words like need, have to, must, or should. I'll just say that again. Need, have to, must, or should. Can you hear they're like kind of rules? You must, you should, you have to. I must, I should, I have to. Steve Andreas gives a very interesting example of this on the internet, which is, he says, take a simple phrase like look out of the window. So that's an imperative or an instruction. Look out of the window. So what happens if you say you must look out of the window? You should look out of the window. You need to look out of the window. Or I must look out of the window. I should look out of the window. It's very different, isn't it, from just I look out of the window. So that's the tone, really, of a modal operator of necessity. So I'll give you some kind of common examples. I have to tidy the house. We shouldn't do it. You must be polite to the boss. You ought to be more careful. Obligation, requirement, having no choice. These are the characteristics of modal operators of necessity. And what we do to question these modal operators is to ask about consequences or results. So, if I must be polite to the boss, what happens if I'm not polite to the boss? Or what happens if I am just polite to the boss, not because I have to or because I must, but because I'm quite a polite sort of person? So it's a bit like what happens if we remove the modal operator of necessity. It's quite interesting, isn't it? It's quite freeing. We have to get a break from work. This project must not fail. They're absolutely full of stresses, aren't they? So those are stresses that might be useful sometimes to achieve a particular deadline, but some people live their lives with those kind of stresses. I have to tidy the house. I have to go and visit my mother. I should get a new car. These are quite painful and uncomfortable things, aren't they? So what we look at in terms of affecting these modal operators of necessity is how can we just loosen them up? That's often what we're doing with the meta model, is loosening something up, allowing some choice, and exploring whether that must really does need to be so strongly said as it is. As I've said about a number of the other meta model categories, I've learnt this mostly by operating on my own internal dialogue. And I've noticed an enormous difference in my internal dialogue if I can remove all these modal operators of necessity. And my recommendation for your practice this week or this month is that you really consider what modal operators of necessity you're using in your own language. What is the effect of those, and what happens if you remove them?